Hey everybody. Thanks for hopping on our next team training and inspiration call on these Tuesday nights. I think through the holidays, instead of doing 2 a month, we'll do 1 a month since there's so many things going on. And then we can kind of see where we want to pick up after the first of the year, depending on what topics are relevant or what discussions might be helpful to the group or whatever. A couple reminders as we get started. If you have anybody who joined the STEP challenge, be sure you're checking in with them, staying in contact with them. Tomorrow ends today is the last day of the first week. It started on Wednesday. And so tomorrow starts the second week of the STEP challenge. And that has been really helpful and very successful for the people who have joined in. I had a ton of people do it last time, and almost every single one of them are doing it the second time because they loved it so much. So giving people that really simple goal with a simple product regimen, having just slim and lean and getting their steps in every day has been really great to inch people kind of toward their goals and get ahead of things, especially weight loss goals, but it also could be mood goals and energy goals and, even sleep, right? Activity affects our sleep. So all the things like that, getting ahead of when those things can get out of whack over the holiday season. So I really liked the timing of doing it again. So just a reminder, if you have anybody in there, to check in with them, see how they're doing, see how you can support them, celebrate their wins, all the things. So, or just encourage them to get moving. Maybe if they fall off the wagon, you can encourage them to come on back. But this week, you might have seen in the IPA place, there is that gut health class text option now that people can text in to a phone number and basically be delivered via text message, pretty much like a gut health focused messenger event, but it's going specifically to them. So it's all about Plexus in relation to how it can help your gut and our gut health products and why gut health is so important and how it affects your health and all of that. So it's a really great thing to invite people to and plug them into, especially if they're interested in our gut health products or just digestive products in general, or anything relating to the gut, which is basically everything that we sell. So it's a really good resource to just even save that post or save the graphic somewhere on your phone or save the phone number to a note in your phone so that you have it for later, because it's just an ongoing trigger that when they text in, it'll automatically send them the information with all the gut health sequence of I was gonna say posts, but texts. So this week is sort of the launch of it. So that's why we have the graphic up and kind of training us all how to use it. But it's something that is always around. So if you want to save that, phone number and stuff and all of that information about how to use it, that's a really good thing to be able to reference otherwise, right? So that's happening this week. And also on Thursday morning, there's going to be a YouTube live stream all about how to earn cash for Christmas using the Plexus Business Opportunity. So really good for anybody on your team. Invite everybody that you're already talking to. And also a really wonderful thing to ask any potentials you might be speaking to. Just ask them if they're interested in checking it out. The link from the YouTube live stream will become a recording link after the fact. So if they're not available it's 11 a.m. Pacific is when it's going to go live. Obviously, if they're not available during the day, they can check it out whenever. But that link will be the same for the recording thereafter. So this is really great for people with cost objections, anybody who which is everybody, right? Could use extra cash going into the holidays. But I always think of potentials with cost objections, but also team members who maybe drop their subscription or bump it out or, change the products that are in there, remove things because they want to put their money towards Christmas and they're, lessening with the Plexus products that they're ordering. And I really hate to see someone sacrificing their own health so that they can pay for Christmas presents, right? Nobody should ever have to make that trade-off. So that's a really good thing to plug people into as well, because we all know how simple it is to earn $300, right? Just find 2 people to do this with you, which they could do next week and absolutely have an extra $300 to spend on Christmas. So the YouTube live stream is going to go over referring 3, referring 9, going Fast Start Gold, referring, I think it's 17 people, which Fast Start Gold, by the way, if you did that, it's like $1,600. So like, if people want it, it's there. The cash is there if you want it. So just remember about that. That's going to start streaming Thursday morning at 11 a.m. The Cash for Christmas on YouTube live stream. The links are all posted on team pages and stuff everywhere. So super easy to find. One note about website enhancements. You might have noticed that like the login page is different. Some of the enrollment flow, like a couple things are a little bit different. Which you might see slight changes here and there of like, oh, the box to insert their password looks different than it used to. And all of this back end updating is going on right now to make everything more seamless, right? In our customers' experience and our experience. But as little things get fixed, right, some little bugs might arise here and there, or one enhancement happens over here, but then like, oh shoot, that made that button not work correctly or whatever, right? And so there's a few little growing pains right now as they're getting the website advancements kind of up to speed and completed, because for the first half of next year, that's kind of a project that Plexus is hot and heavy about, that they want to really launch an updated website next year, hopefully earlier rather than later. But there's kind of those little tweaks here and there that they're starting to see have an effect over here, so be patient with the website. Let me know if you have any specific issues. If you have anybody who has issues ordering, like when in doubt, stop them the first sign of hesitation that they have. Okay, we do not want people to be repeatedly trying and spending all this time and like, it's not accepting this, and I tried it again and I got off work and I tried it again. Okay, I just like the first sign of anything, any type of issue, what I will have them do, like no matter what it is, no matter what the step is that they are on, if it's like the first time they click the share a cart link, or if they're all the way to like putting in their payment and their credit card isn't saving, or the process order button isn't working, whatever it is, anywhere in between, I immediately will have them send me a screenshot exactly of what they see. So what do you see? What step are you on right now? And then my next thing, if I'm not already doing the enrollment for them, like if I don't have their information, I'm asking for it right then. Are you comfortable with me walking through this? I don't want you to have to spend any more time on this. You know, we're doing some website enhancements, so there might be a little snag here and there. Are you comfortable with me calling you on the phone and walking through this with you, or taking down your information and I can do this so you don't have to spend any more time on it? So that they aren't spending their time on it, right? And I would consider pausing on the share a cart links right now, because I have had some personal snafus. I know some of us have had some personal things happen where it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, kind of thing. And so I personally, my first line of getting someone enrolled is getting on the phone. Like, can I call you? Right? Is now a good time to get on the phone and process your order? And they're not inputting it, I'm inputting it on the website, right? Like I'm the one like, okay, I'm ready for your credit card number, right? So I'm not having them click around things and me trying to describe what it is. The second piece, the second option is taking their information and saying, here's the info I need. You know, we have tons of graphics of like, you know, name, birthday, email, phone number, credit card number, whatever, that say all the things we need to enroll somebody. And my next line after that, like if that's not jiving and they really want to do it themselves, and I don't want to get on the phone for whatever reason, which is rare, but if that happens, I will give them step-by-step ordering instructions, and I will have them send me a screenshot before they process their order of their cart, to ensure that everything is in there, it's the right price, it looks all correct. I'm their sponsor, you know, all the things. And then I'll say, yep, looks good, you know, and they'll have them process it that way. But I have not personally been using share a cart the last couple of weeks, because I think I'm seeing some issues and I'm like, you know what, I'm not ready for that yet. It's a really wonderful feature that I'm excited to work with and will streamline our business big time. But if it's not working perfectly, I'm going to go back to what I know and have used for the last 7.5 years. That has been just fine. It's calling people on the phone, getting their info, signing them up, you know, walking through sign up steps with them, saying like, that's pretty much how a lot of us built our business in the beginning. So it's like not the end of the world that the share cart link doesn't work. Yes, it's easy, but wouldn't we all rather have people sign up correctly? So I'm like, everybody stop. Everybody stop. Because I don't know if every single one of you has had an experience with the share a cart link, but almost all of you probably have. I have too, like in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I just want to like heads up, maybe pause on the share cart link as we head into like Black Friday and stuff. Let's get on the phone, you know, and sign people up that way. Or in person, if you see them in person, right? If you're going to see your Aunt Linda at Thanksgiving and she's super interested in the gut health system, you're like, hey, Linda, let me open my phone right now and sign her up right there, right? So that we're not leaving it to people to, I don't know, have who knows what happen. So that's what I have to say about that. I was like, things just started to pile up a little. I was like, let's just pause. Let's pause on that. So anyway, moving on to Black Friday, holidays, all the things. We're going to be having some discounts, some LTO, some freebie happening next week. So right now is when we really want to be hot and heavy on engagement and reach out messages. So every other network marketer is going to be blasting Facebook and Instagram with all of their deals. Like everybody on the planet has a Black Friday deal, has a Cyber Week deal, right? We are not the only ones who are going to be sharing that information. To get more visibility, we're going to want to be engaging more with more people, more thoughtfully, hopefully in their inboxes and not just sending them a heart on a post, right? Doing that more often. And also sending more reach out messages that are the same messages that we're probably already sending, right? I don't know if you've seen what I've been posting. I thought you might like this as well. What are your thoughts on learning more about Plexus? You know, all the things like that you normally put in a message. I wouldn't change your messaging to be any more aggressive or desperate or any of that. I don't think I would do that. I would still treat it the same way, but get those conversations started so that the algorithms see that you have that connection. And it's a recent connection, right? So the more we can be sending those first connection type messages and getting those conversations started, the better. Even if they're a no or a not right now, or I'm going to wait till after Christmas or whatever that is, even just having a conversation in the messenger inbox is going to be very valuable for your visibility in the feed and how relevant your stories are. So the algorithms also push our stories closer to the front of the line, closer to the left, when Facebook and Instagram think that we're somebody that person wants to see and see their content, right? So I would even like ramp up, like if you're doing the 3 reach outs a day and maybe 5 engagements, I would like be doubling and tripling that for like at least the next week and a half. It's very worth your time because it's going to get real noisy real fast when next week comes and all the sales are starting. So that's kind of what I want. I'm going to be focusing on that. It'll be helpful to have the power hour tonight, but also through the rest of the week. And, you know, take 5 minutes on the weekend and send out 5 messages on Saturday morning and another 5 on Sunday or whatever, right? However you want to break it up. I do not recommend doing like 30 at one time because I have literally been in Facebook jail for doing that before. If you're like, it's okay. Yeah, Erica's raising her hand. You're like, it's fine. I'll do them all on Wednesday night. I'll just send 40 messages. And then Facebook's like, guess what, Allie? You're not allowed to send any more messages anymore. So don't do that. Same goes for friend requests. It does that with friend requests also. So they think you're like a bot or you're spamming people, which is not what we want and not what we're trying to do. So remember the balance of your business, but now is the season to be pouring into that like network expansion and network nurturing and reach out kind of category of your Plexus Day stuff. Now is the time for ramping that up. And, you know, toward the end of the month, it's going to be more heavy in the follow-up, right? The potential follow-up is going to be the heavy time for that. And then come beginning of December, then the customer care is going to be really heavy in there, right? So you're kind of going to go through this cycle over the next month-ish, probably, with all of those activities being a little tipped in one direction versus the other. But if you're kind of wondering how to spend your time, it's growing your network, it's engaging, and it's sending reach out messages and making sure you're consistent just in your posting and stuff, especially over the next week or week and a half. So something that I am doing as I'm following up with my potentials and asking them if they are interested in learning about the Black Friday specials as they are released is getting a second or third point of contact. So I'm asking them to send me their phone number or email or both. which has been good. It's funny, actually I didn't go back and do this because I asked a bunch of potentials and I have a bunch of people written down, you know, in my planner, to message about Black Friday specials. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't, like, the only way I can get a hold of them is Facebook Messenger. And so I went back yesterday and today and was like, would you mind also providing me with, or would you mind if I also grabbed your text number or your email, whatever works best for you, or both if you're open to that, so that I can make sure that you, I don't know what I said, like learn about the specials when online. It might be kind of busy and, you know, something like that, so it doesn't get lost or something during such a busy time or something like that. I butchered that, but you know, I said something like that because I had to go back and now they're like, sure. So that's great. I've already got a good handful of people who are like definitely interested in ordering next week, and I kind of already know what they want. So that's really nice. Just an idea to get their phone number or their email address. If whatever drives with you in your system. Just another idea, because if they're hearing about a lot of things online, and if there's somebody who maybe doesn't have Messenger on their phone or is going to be with family all next week because they're traveling or their kids are out of school or whatever, they might not be clicking on those social media apps, right? They might not be opening those as often during a holiday week, whereas they probably have more of a habit of checking a text message or an email. Not everybody, right? That might not be a blanket statement for everybody, but maybe a good idea to get another point of contact for them. So along the lines of visibility, especially as we head into the holidays and Black Friday and all of that, I was looking for some kind of new information that could give us some tangible tips for getting our content in the eyes of more people. And I landed on a training from Fraser Brooks, who is wonderful. And if you don't follow him on YouTube and Instagram and all the things, definitely consider following him. He's great. And he had a recent video about getting more story views and how to help your profile move closer to the left, be like closer to the left on the top of the stories reel on both Instagram and Facebook, and little tips and hacks to try and help you have people watch longer, see yours faster, and hopefully keep them tuning in to strengthen the algorithm in your favor. And so I'm going to just share some of the tips that he gave, and I'm excited to start trying these. And hopefully they really help people watch through our entire stories and also help our little face show up at the beginning of the line, because they become a consistent watcher, right? Because a lot of us might have hundreds or thousands of either Facebook friends or Instagram followers, combined. And, when you open your app, you see like the top, what is it, like 4 people, like 5 people, however many show up on the top there. It's not very many, when you open it on your phone or whatever. And maybe when we sit to watch stories, I don't know about you, but if I click open a story and I maybe watch a few, maybe I tap to click through some, maybe I swipe and move over to the next one, I'm usually not watching more than, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 people's stories. Like I don't spend a ton of time like watching everybody on the planet's stories. I'm kind of like, is this interesting to me? Time filler type of content for me, and think about that percentage of people in relation to like I don't even know how many Facebook friends I have. Thousands of Facebook friends I have, really, right? Tiny percentage of people that I'm actually consuming that content. It's not because I don't like them. It's not because I don't want to see their content. It's not because I don't maybe want what they have to offer me. It's that the algorithms are not feeding that to me at the beginning, because the engagement isn't there. The watch history isn't there. So the couple things that I pulled away from his video, I wanted to share, because I thought that's really interesting, because we think about strengthening the algorithm with engagement outside of stories, and on their feed content and getting in their inbox and all of that. But there's things we can do in our stories to help people watch more on top of the engagement that we're already doing, right? Of course, be engaging with the people who are on your engagement list, our new potentials, all of that. Especially engage with the people who are watching your stories in their entirety. I know this is something a few of us already do. Like you look at who watch your stories and put them on your potentials list or start engaging with them or following with them, whatever. but the people who watched your whole story is way more valuable than maybe the people who dropped off in the middle. Because people who watched your whole story are obviously more interested, right, in what you have to share. And if you can engage with them through their stories, if they have stories, that's going to be a really strong engagement as well, because all of that goes to the inbox, right? So that connection is much stronger than hearting someone's Instagram post, right? So our goal is to get to the left of their stories feed, right? So that we're one of the first people that pops up. And as they, even like the first time we can do that, it teaches the algorithm that they want to click on our face, right? Because nobody's going there and like searching for us specifically. Like odds are they're not opening Instagram and being like, Allie Kintz, I wonder what she's doing today. Like that's probably not happening at all with anybody. Unless it's one of us on our team that's specifically looking at someone's story that's trying to find something. And if you see, side note, if your feed is full of Plexus posts, engage more with your potentials. Because if you have a bunch of Plexus people on your feed, it's because that's the stuff that you're engaging with. So they're feeding you all the stuff that you engage with. So if you're just watching a bunch of Plexus stories and, you know, commenting on Plexus posts only or disproportionately, you're going to be fed those posts. So just remember that. Always wonderful to support each other, but you know what I'm saying. You're going to be fed what you watch. So we want to help people either click and hold on our stories, which freezes the content and pauses the story, or we want them to actually click back and maybe want to rewatch something or reread something, right? So that is training Facebook and Instagram that those people want to see more of our content or want to see the content in its entirety. If you've ever heard about watch time with YouTube videos or reels or whatever, stories, very similar way. How many seconds were they on your story? Did it fly by and then they back up and want to watch it again? Did they tap and hold the screen, right? And sometimes I've been like, should I write all this text on here? Is someone actually going to read this? But the thing that Fraser Brooks was saying, he's like, don't be afraid to write a lot of text on there on the screen. Don't be afraid of that. Obviously make it legible, don't make it tiny. But one way to help people actually want to read that is have a big hook on the top of the screen that says something like, make sure you know this, or you're going to want to screenshot this, or you're going to want to read this to the end, or here's an important tip that I want to share with you, that's in like much larger bold letters at the top, and then have your smaller text down below, right? He only gave like those few things, but I thought that's a good takeaway. And just knowing that them maybe backing up a little bit and rewatching or tapping and holding is something to remember, even if it's like not Plexus related at all, right? So if they have to tap and hold and read text that it's going to take them longer than 15 seconds to read, the fact that they're doing that is a really good activity and a really good engagement with your story. So using that both in Plexus stuff, I know like a lot of us put like product info or whatever, which is fine. I do that and I'm like, hold to read, you know, that's great. But doing that with personal content as well, like having a little story, like physical, like writing a story about something, like you're never going to believe what happened to me today, right? And then like paragraph and having them have to hold on it. Like maybe what you'd put on a Facebook caption or something, right, is like could live with a photo or a video in a story. That type of thing is great, shows good engagement. So to remember that, that people holding and backing up to read something, like maybe they're clicking by it, if they're breezing through thinking like, oh gosh, there's Allie with another pink drink photo, right? And they're like, tap, tap, forward, right? But then I'm like, you will not believe what I saw today at Walmart, right? Or whatever is like header. And then there's this bulk text. They're gonna be like, wait, what? What'd you see at Walmart? You know, back up. So that type of thing, remember to use it like in both ways, Plexus and non-Plexus. And also direct people to your stories with your feed content, right? So in your caption, make sure you go watch my story to see how this ended up today, or the final, I don't know, the final product of this house project we're working on or whatever, right? Directing people to stories from your feed is a really good way to have that double engagement and showing the algorithm that not only are they reading your content, they are then going directly to your story and checking out what you told them to check out, right? One thing I thought he was really funny that he said that I 1000% agree with, but didn't really think about it until he said it, was purposefully have stuff going on in the background and share the mess, go somewhere busy, maybe not loud, right? But people will like watch what's happening in the background and they kind of want to see it. And if it's a busy background of like your kids or your messy kitchen or doing something else while you're talking, right? Like, so if your phone's in front of you and you're like, hey, I'm talking about Slim and these are the benefits and I drink my pink drink every day because it's good for gut health, whatever. Go somewhere where they can see all the garbage behind you. Because people want to know all the things about how everybody else lives, what their dirty living room looks like, what kind of stuff is on their bathroom counter. And maybe don't be like going to the bathroom, but you know what I mean? like that kind of stuff. Just the visual interest of it, but also having a secondary activity happening encourages people to want to keep watching. Like maybe if you're going to share about products, prop your phone up, do hands-free, and share it while you're stirring a pot at dinner or something, right? Because they're like, oh, what is she doing? What is she making? What did she just put in there? You know, like have a secondary activity either in the foreground that you're actively doing, or if you're talking about sending samples, like I'm guilty of like, snap a selfie, do you want a sample? But maybe it's you set it up hands-free and you are packing the samples, you know, and you're like, I'm packing samples today, I'm putting this in there, like I'm sealing the envelope, you know what I mean? So that kind of thing, either a foreground secondary activity that you're engaged with while you're speaking. Again, plexus and non-plexus, even like telling other stories and stuff. Or going somewhere where it's like not the most perfect background and it's not just like you and your perfect kitchen counter or whatever, right? So remembering those things that keep visual interest and make people want to keep watching. That goes for like reels and stuff too. Stories and reels on that one. That can kind of satisfy for both of those. And I think this is one of the last things that I pulled from what he was saying, because so many people talk about using the stickers, like the poll stickers and the sliders and the question boxes and stuff, right? And he's like, you know what? You want people to send you a message. You don't want them to just like click yes or no and keep scrolling. Instead of asking a question and using the question box, just ask the question in big, huge letters and get them to DM you. Like you want them to actually send you a message. So like stop using the question box and just put the question on the thing, or stop using the poll, you know, yes, no, and just put the options on the screen in your text so they actually DM you and it's not something living in the stories. And I was like, oh my gosh, why have I not even thought of that? Because I always go back and have to look at my poll answers. Like, did anybody answer my poll? Did anybody want a sample? Like, did anybody respond to my question box? Did anybody click the slider? Like, you have to go back and look at your archives to see all that stuff. And he's like, quit doing that. Like, just have them message you. And so asking simple questions, like tonight, I just tried it to see what happened. So we'll see over like the next 24 hours. I took a picture of Archer playing piano. And I took a photo of him. And then the next story was a video that didn't have any sound, but it asked people if they played an instrument growing up. And so we'll see, like within 10 minutes, see, Erica, I was tempted to answer. Within like 10 minutes, somebody who it's another board game guy who lives in Oregon, which is really fun. He like immediately was like, I played the saxophone. It was hilarious. And I was like, oh my gosh, like people are literally answering. So we'll see how far that goes, because I just did it like at dinner time. So that's a huge tip, right? Like stop using the polls and the question boxes and maybe the sliders, like maybe depending on how the slider maybe could go either way on the engagement, depending on how you want them to engage. Maybe if it's just like, I don't know, how much do you like my new paint color or something? I don't know. Maybe the slider is more appropriate. But not using polls and questions and having them DM you was a good tip. Yeah, Corky, it's a pain to use those. Exactly. I'm like, what have I been messing around with this whole time? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been shooting myself in the foot this entire time. So that was a good tip. Another tip was, instead of doing like trying to have a lot of stories that are maybe not interesting or kind of crappy, just do a few really good ones, right? Because the sequence of not so great stories is what will get people to not want to engage with you and teach them that like they don't like your content, right? So remembering that things that you want to post, things they want to engage with, you want to post some behind the scenes content. You want a mix of photos and video and let them see your face and your voice, right? Like maybe not every single day, all the things, but sprinkle in a variety of things. So it's not the same static content that can get boring and they never engage with it. And it's just kind of like, there's another photo of Allie's messy desk with her pink drink sitting on it, you know? So try to avoid monotonous, boring content, right? And doing a few interesting stories that don't need to be groundbreaking in any way, but just encourage people to either want to watch the whole thing or interact with it in some way. Doing a few of that is better than like a sequence of just like afterthought content, right? Which I'm so guilty of. Like I need to put something up. I just kind of like that. I even thought about like last night, if you guys probably all saw it. I like made this grain bowl for dinner and I was like, this is pretty. This is Christmas color. So I like took a picture of it and I'm like, festive grain bowl for dinner. And then I thought to myself, that is, nobody cares. That is kind of dumb. I should have like posted the recipe, or I should have been like, do you eat grain? What do you put in your grain bowl? I don't know. It was terrible. I'm like, I could have done that so much better. But what did I do? I took a dumb picture of a bowl of food that was like, look what I'm eating. Anyway, so don't do that. And so I'm learning. But anyway, and even said something to consider is going dark for 24 hours and then coming back with really good, like really good content that's like you talking to, or you in the frame somewhere telling a story or doing something using the tips, right? Like having something going on in the background so people want to watch the sequence of slides that should no more than 3 or 4. He said story, like a continuous story of things in your story shouldn't be more than 3 or 4 slides. After that, people kind of like lose interest. Help people watch all the way through and then have some kind of engagement at the end. Obviously using captions, putting a question on the screen and having them DM you, like going dark for 24 hours and then having something like that can really help spike the algorithm again. Like all of a sudden, if you come back and you have something super engaging that a lot of your people that saw it watched all the way through, they'll start pushing that to more people, right? If they're like, oh, the first 27 people that saw this story watched it all the way to the end, so we should probably show this to some more people. So that was sort of an idea to just kind of re-enter with really great content. And the format that he was talking about for like the sequence of a story was, what do you say? Hook, story, offer. So like your very first slide needs to pretty much be your hook. That's either a photo or video, hopefully with like music or something moving, like a GIF or sticker or whatever. Hook, story, the actual story of like the main text of what you want to say is 1 or 2 slides only, and then offer at the end. So hook, story, offer, and that's it. So I thought that format was good too. I think sometimes I can be like, does anybody have anxiety? And then I just want to share like 17 anxiety testimonies. And although those are wonderful, I think by like number 2, they're probably like, okay, I get it. You know, like, I don't know who's like really, you know, getting all of those. So this training really had me reflecting on my content being like, okay, there's pieces of this that I sort of try to do, I don't do perfectly. Other pieces of this, I totally need to improve. And parts of it also, I feel like, man, I'm missing the boat on that and I could do a lot better with this. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to implement some of these things and hopefully they get more story views. And I don't know, I guess I'll throw it back to you guys now. What piece of advice do you think you want to implement first? Or like, what do you feel like has been a valuable takeaway for getting more story views or training the algorithm for people to watch your content, your story content. Feel free to unmute yourself.
I like the idea of keeping it short. I think that all the time when I do a lot of, as I did it last night and broke down my post into stories. I'm like, people are the reason I think that is because when I track it, you can see the drop off people as they get to the end. So to me, it's like the shorter, the better, but I got a little carried away with, gonna share all the info. So I like that a lot. And, I like the messy background because you can see my messy background here. And a lot of times I don't post from here. I try and go where it's real cute and clean, So that's kind of fun to, have that option. So
Oh man, I agree. I'm so guilty of like, where's the best lighting with the best background? Like I do that all the time. Like that's what I do.
oh well, yeah, the best lighting because you gotta make your face look cute.
Exactly. I'm like,
I
I
don't
need to
filter
get my
mine up.
and I need to have nothing in the background. Like with really, I should have my children like running around being fools of themselves behind me is what I should do.
Well, I mean, you guys all have your own kid, but I notice like for me, whether it's a story or a post, if my grandkids are in it, I feel like I'm like hooking my kids out because I get all these people that
They're not
respond.
my
And
children.
it's like, yes, put the grandkids on and that definitely gets attention.
I mean, yeah, I need to be shorter too. I agree. I like having shorter stories with more high level information. And not, I mean, there's a time and place for that kind of stuff, right? Like not every single post needs to be a certain way, but I think I get too wordy too often where I'm like, here's this screenshot of this amazing information, okay, but like 1 is great, 2 is probably fine, but like 7 slides of like, it's kind of a lot, but anyway, anybody else?
I feel like the hold a long caption one is kind of a tricky one because sometimes when I see that, I legitimately instantly go on. Like if it's someone that I follow, I'm like, oh, instantly, I don't have time for that. It really does depend. It has to be a really good hook at the top to get me to stay personally. So like knowing that, I always feel a little bit like I'm going to throw this in there just for giggles, but probably nobody's going to look at it, is my perspective on that, because I just assume that everybody's just like me. But if I have a good hook, I would be interested in trying that more. The trick is actually having a good hook. I find myself, and we've talked about this a little bit, where I've thought about like niching down my content even more and like really doing hardly game night reminder. Get out of here, game night. Paul goes to their house every Tuesday night. And I'm like, wah, solo with the children during meetings. But the idea of like this randomness in my stories, I just am not fully convinced is the best, but I don't know why. Like I think of some of the more professional accounts that I follow, like even their stories are really niched down. And so I haven't decided if that's something that I want to keep pursuing, like really only do adventure-y stuff in my Instagram stories or whatever, or just still keep it random and really real. But is that making me lose followers? Sometimes I wonder if, because I'm not super niched, if I haven't like really ramped up my following, not that followers are like the end of the thing, but that is kind of a wondering that I have. If it's like continually all the time random, do I lose people? Where it's like, sometimes it's about the things that we're eating, or sometimes it's Plexus, or sometimes it's like life at home, or sometimes it's like the randomness of life, and then sometimes it's adventure. Like it's like too random. I don't know.
You should experiment for like a week and see what happens.
I feel like I might need more than a week, but yes, that's probably
Like
a good idea.
Yeah, and just be like, I'm only gonna post, adventure.
But then there's the pressure of like, I have to adventure every day or something, you know, like, which is not realistic. I'm not doing that.
Totally. There could be like old tips or memories or bucket list places, or, you know, like there's so many things like with
I know.
your tips, like I have
That
no idea.
requires more planning
Yeah.
and less on the fly, which I think is what it has been
Mhm.
that has caused me to not pursue
But,
that
you know,
more.
Erica, I would say this about your stuff, you know, as someone watching you, I think I don't feel that it's random. I feel that it's your life. It's the girls, it's your adventures, it's how you guys choose to eat. All that is your family, and that's kind of Team Strausser. So to me, it doesn't seem random. It seems very fitting of you guys' lifestyle.
See, I need people like you to tell me that too.
I mean, seriously, you know, it's like all those things are what you know, what your Team Strasser is, what you are, what your family is. And I feel like how you've been doing the food piece recently, I find that really interesting because I think there's a lot of people that would like to eat healthier, but don't know how to and don't want to take the time to learn. So if they can just watch you and be like, oh, she eats 3 eggs, or she has, you know, kale in the
3 eggs,
morning.
people.
I mean, seriously, that to you it seems like random because or ordinary because that's what you do all the time. But for someone who doesn't have that knowledge, you're sharing and like you're enriching them by sharing that knowledge.
Oh, Ruby says the same thing.
I would look at it that same way. I read something recently, and I'll try to find it, about someone who kind of does trainings for this specifically, and she tried to hone in and like focus on one thing, and then realized that wasn't to her true nature, and then ended up feeling stuck. So it's like if adventuring is like the major part, but maybe you can't do that every day, right? But then the people that follow in and love that part of what they see and what you're posting, they're gonna also love everything else because they just want to know about you and your life and your family. Like the adventuring part got them there, but everything else is they're still gonna stay. And it just, well, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she was like, once I actually went broader and allowed myself to just be me and not just hone in on one specific thing, her following actually grew. And then because she was being more truthful to herself and like just who she was every day.
So then why has my following not grown? It feels like it hasn't really. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of stuck at this like low, like
Wasn't it last month you had like 500 things you had to respond to?
Which I have grown since then. So I've grown by like, I don't know,
That's huge.
100 true followers since then. But it still feels like a little bit like, why is this not gaining more traction? Like, what is it? What is it that's missing? And I haven't quite figured that out. Not that I don't want to be like super influencer. I don't need thousands of followers, but like a little bit more would be nice. Like not just the handful of people that I kind of already know.
Totally.
Maybe
Like
it's
the goal
time.
is like more visibility, because the more visibility, you know, the more of an impact. you can
Yeah.
make, right. So it's like, because those however many thousands of followers that we have, a small percentage of them are actually seeing our content, right? So it's like,
Right.
what's the thing to push our content out further to more people, whether that be feed content or stories content, right? So yeah, I mean, hopefully the stories stuff can help us get more visibility with our current audience, you know? But yeah, I think it might not even be one thing, right? Like there might be like not one missing piece.
Yeah.
Like I think even you just saying that you have like 100 more followers since that last month is like huge. Like that's
Oh,
Me
totally.
too.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. For me, it's a big deal, and it feels big. It does.
Yeah, and so there might even be just like a tipping point where it's like, okay, I'm gaining steam now. Like
I do think that Instagram kind of does that. All of the sudden, it kind of turns on and ramps up, and then there are like these thresholds that have been talked about in one of the trainings.
Yes.
Before.
So many people engage or so many people view, then it like initially gets
or the shares or whatever.
Again, or shared so many times or commented on so many times in the first, you know, X number of hours or whatever. Then it's like, okay, now we're gonna push it out to like phase 2 of people.
Right.
It definitely does that. And I think the same can be true sort of with Facebook also. Like it works a little differently, but I think we even see it, you probably see it, you see a post from 3 days ago that has
Mhm.
47 comments, but it's 3 days old, but it's because people are still engaging with it. And Facebook's like, guess what? Let's show it to her again because clearly it's relevant. You know, clearly people want to talk about it or whatever. So they kind of do that. I mean, it's the same company, but you know, it's kind of the same thing on both fronts. So it's like, okay, if our content can be crafted in such a way that it, you know, works well on this platform or this platform and garners that engagement, and our stories are becoming more visible, and more consistently engaging. I think that's the thing, is like having that consistency and not only showing up, but showing up well. And it's okay to only have like 1 or 2 awesome things rather than like 12 kind of afterthought garbage things, right? Because nobody, what? Not me.
Garbage things. They're
Garbage things.
trash. They're trash.
Trash. Such trash. No, but nobody posts trash. Maybe I do, I don't know. But anyway. I just think that it's okay to have like 1 or 2 thoughtful pieces, because I was listening to a podcast last month or something, and she was like, listen, nobody's gonna actively unfollow you when you're not posting content. But when you post content that is not relevant to them, that is super boring, and it's like maybe like repetitive or monotonous or not interesting to them, then people are gonna be like, unfollow, she's not my jam. Right? So it's okay to take a minute and be like, okay, I need to be thoughtful with what I'm posting, you know, and not just all content all the time. But remembering that, like, okay, if you're gonna do that, you can't take it so far at the other end of the spectrum where it's like been 4 days and you're like, now you're just not showing up, right? Now you're not there anymore. So there's a tipping point for that also. But yeah, I'm excited to institute some of these stories, tips and things and see if it helps. Honestly, what we should do is start doing some of the stuff that we wrote down tonight and see, like maybe tomorrow at this time, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, see how many people watched your last story, right? Like what number of people watched your last story, and then the next few days, next week or whatever, really try to put some of these things into practice and check every night at 8 o'clock. Okay, how many people watched my last story that's visible? You know, and just see if that number improves, or if you notice some content did better than others. Maybe the super sciencey people love the super long stories, you know, like maybe they love it. Or maybe, you know, maybe there's certain content that performs well. Maybe if you're, you know, taking a video, making your whole dinner that's 4 slides long, people don't hang till the end. They're like, I'm done listening to Allie talk about what she's having for dinner, you know? And so maybe that won't perform well. So you can kind of see, you know, what works well and what doesn't. But okay, thank you for hopping on, everybody. We're going to transition into Power Hour. So I'm going to stop our recording, pause, and potty break.
I'm gonna go kiss the kids. I'll
Okay.
be